Why is it always about him? Why is it always about the narcissist? Like, have you ever felt like it's like a narcissistic vortex that it always comes around full circle of it just being about him? Maybe you felt like you're orbiting around someone else's world and that your version of reality, your world, doesn't even exist. Today, we're going to talk about some of the intricacies of narcissism and the why in their universe it's all about them. And this is a part of my life. Like, I've always viewed the world revolving around me. Even so much that I would joke about that. Like, don't you know the world revolves around me? Like, I would joke about being a perfect person. Like, hey, like, I'm so perfect, it must be hard to be with me. Like, all these different things would happen because I viewed the entitlement piece to the extreme of like, everything is going around me. I am the center of the universe. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but I'm just sharing, like, this is some of my perspective of what has happened in my life and how I've shown up in such a toxic way for such a long period of time. You might be wondering. So if you're new here, my name is Ben Taylor and I'm a self-aware narcissist. I'm a narcissist on here that starts to show and help people understand, just get awareness of what narcissism actually is, and then also see the tools and steps to break free from people that you've been stuck with that have been narcissistic. Oftentimes this involves breaking the trauma bond, rewiring the story you believe, getting away from the obsessive thinking and thoughts about this toxic person, or you continuing to go back or cycle back with a toxic version of that person. So I want to talk to you some today about that. If you want to talk any more with me, would love to interact with you. You can go to rawmotivations.com, rawmotivations.com. Would love to be able to help you out as you move forward in your healing process. When we talk about this piece of like narcissistic personality disorder, it's this aspect, first off, of people looking at it being like, why is it always about him? And that's because the narcissist views themselves as being the center of the universe. That's how I viewed my life. I viewed my life as like, I'm a lone wolf. I'm a one-man show. I'm the best thing in the world. Everybody needs to serve me. This is where we get the concept of narcissists viewing you and other people as toasters. Like, you are the person that's supposed to serve the narcissist. You're the person who's supposed to toast the bread for the narcissist. If you fail, he throws you away. He gets to another toaster, just continues to move on. Like, it's very transactional. Like, it's just about what I want in the moment. It's like all revolving around me. You're my servants. You're my subjects. Like, that's the thought process. You're like, well, that doesn't sound very nice. No, it's not. It's really toxic and abusive. But like, that is what's actually going through the narcissist's head. So like, narcissists oftentimes position themselves at the center of their own universe. And this demands this constant attention. It demands this validation. It demands all these things coming to the narcissist. Like, you must serve me. You belong to me. Like, what you do belongs to me. Your ideas are my ideas. All these different things. It all comes back to the narcissist. Like, you might have already seen this in your relationship where you constantly have a person that always redirects conversations back to themselves. Like, oh yeah, I remember when oh, this happened when oh, this happened when and all of a sudden you're like, can I even talk about me? And you're like, well, that seems a little selfish that you want to talk about yourself so much. And you're like, but you're always taking the conversations and putting it back to you. And so this is what happens a lot of times in narcissistic personality is like, hey, I need to focus everything you're doing back to me. Okay? It always has to come back to I. This is me. And so narcissists will redirect conversations back to themselves, dismissing your own experiences, dismissing your feelings in favor of their own stuff, in favor of what they're actually doing, saying, going through, whatever it might be. Because narcissists would rather focus on themselves in that false sense of reality than they would focus on you. It doesn't mean they're focusing on their true self, and it doesn't mean they're focusing on the person underneath the surface, like what's actually going on underneath. They're just focusing on what can they get in the moment? What can they get for themselves? Okay? Typically, it's like, how do I avoid your feelings? Because your feelings are going to expose my feelings. Don't want to deal with my feelings, so therefore your feelings are a problem. Okay? So, but the narcissist is always looking at, hey, the world revolves around me. That's what I thought. That's how I lived. There's also this aspect, number two, of this emotional black hole. You're like, what do you mean by that? Like this aspect of like a black hole absorbs everything, right? It just absorbs everything. You don't have anything come out of a black hole. It's not like you have this piece of like, hey, put something in, you get something out. Like, you don't get a return on your investment when you're putting something into a black hole. So it's the same thing with a narcissist. You typically don't get a return on your investment in the love and the affection and the attention that you're giving this toxic person because they're just sucking it all in. It's like, let me have all this. This is all for me, not for you. Like, this is just for me. And so the narcissists have this insatiable need for like this piece of getting supply. Now, supply might be emotional support. Supply might mean sex. Supply might mean like having an erotic conversation with someone else. Supply might mean like getting a high off of controlling you. Supply might mean your reaction, your response. Supply might mean getting you to do or say something that you normally wouldn't be. Supply might mean triangulating you against someone else. Supply could be a million different things because it all stems from this reaction, this response that you give to the toxic person that shows them that they are in control over you. So narcissists have this insatiable need for emotional nourishment, leaving little room for your feelings or needs. Little as in none. Okay. But like when we talk about this piece, narcissists are like, it's all about me. It's not about you. I'm going to do whatever I can to make it all about me so that you don't have time for you. How many of you have noticed this in the relationship that you did not have time for you at all? Like no matter what you did, no matter what you said, no matter how much you invested into your relationship, you still didn't have time for you. You couldn't go do something you wanted. You couldn't go get something you enjoyed. You couldn't go spend time with friends. You couldn't go visit your family. Like all of this stuff had to revolve around him. And so you're noticing that your life seems to be, like I mentioned earlier, like orbiting around someone else's universe. You don't matter. You don't count. The only thing that matters is what they get in the moment, how they get treated, how you respond to them, etc., etc. You'll find yourself oftentimes isolated from a toxic person. Completely and utterly isolated because he's manipulated the conversations, the triangulation, the people around you, your perception of people around you, so that you're dependent on him and him only. When you're dependent on the narcissist, then he knows I've got control over you and I can keep you for supply. You can keep fueling me in the way I want. Doesn't mean he's going to return it, just means he's going after what he wants. Okay? Now, there's this piece of like where your partner might dismiss your achievements, overshadowing them with his own thoughts of like how amazing he is. You're going to see this oftentimes where there's a power imbalance in the relationship. Let's say, for instance, like you're the wife, you're the woman in the relationship, and you make more money than him. He is probably going to belittle you and put you down so that you feel inadequate at a job that you have been incredibly successful in. Maybe you run your own company and he works for someone else. And you're left being like, I don't even know if I can do this anymore. And he's like, yeah, I know what you mean. Because he's belittled you and put you down so much, you don't understand how like much worth, how much confidence, like how good you are at your job because he's tried to bring you down. We see this so often when you make more money than him, when you have a higher status than him, all those different things. He'll be like, what do I need to do to chip away at you so that you lower to the level that I'm at emotionally so I feel better about myself? That's the whole concept. This narcissist is trying to be like, how do I make myself feel better about the person that I've shown up as, which is typically an awful person. Okay. So a lot of times he's going to bring you down. So there's also this piece of being the puppeteer in the relationship where the narcissist is like pulling the strings, like he's controlling the puppet underneath. He's controlling the narrative of what's actually happening. Sometimes this is just him like wiring and rewriting history to say, nope, this is what happened. This is what didn't happen, to try to control how he actually appears, what it actually looks like. And so in like the narcissistic script, other people are just supporting characters. You're supporting the narcissist. You're just an extension of the narcissist story. You're an extension of what the narcissist wants. You are the toaster to his appliances. You are just a appliance in his life to help him get what he wants. That's the thought process. That's the idea. You might have it where your partner like dictates how you feel, like how you think, or even what to wear. And the whole idea is like molding you into a character that complements his desired narrative. He wants you to act a certain way to fulfill a fantasy. He wants you to act a certain way to trigger his ex. He wants you to act a certain way because this is the version of you that he wants you to show up to help him feel better about himself. So many different levels and pieces of this, but it like all revolves back around him. Whether it's this piece of like being the puppeteer, controlling the narrative, controlling the story that's going on, having this emotional black hole, just sucking everything into it and not giving anything in return, or whether it's just coming through as being like, hey, I'm the center of the universe. Everything should revolve around me. The narcissist is going to focus on this over and over and over again. It's like it can't be about other people. So I did a video earlier this week about anti-narcissism, which is gratitude. It's like it can't be about other people. Has to be about me. I have to control everything. I have to make sure I look good. I have to keep the mask up, and all these things have to be in my sphere of control. When I start giving gratitude, then I start relinquishing control and being like, oh, I'm thankful for this person, not because of what they did for me, but because of who they are. It means I have to look outside versus inside. I have to look outside versus control the things that I have in my life, making me feel better about myself, but aren't actually true. They're just lies that I'm believing to feel better about myself. That's the whole thought process. Okay. It's like understanding this can be really key if it's always going to be about them, which means it doesn't really matter about you. And I don't mean that you don't matter. I just mean that the narcissist doesn't actually care. Like the narcissist doesn't think that you matter in the relationship unless you're providing something, emotional, mental, physical support, whatever it might be. Like you have to be giving something, and then the narcissist is like, okay, you matter. Then as soon as you stop giving, and they're like, oh, now you don't matter anymore. Okay. So it still revolves around the narcissist no matter what. If we can help with this to break you free, I invite you to join our 45-day challenge. You can go to claritychallenge.net and watch some of the videos on that page of other survivors, of what they've gone through and of how they've been liberated by the challenge. If you want more of an accelerated approach, working with me one-on-one or in group coaching, we'd love to be able to interact with you. You can go to rawmotivations.com. We can see if you'd be a good fit for some of the programs we run, and we'd love to be able to help you. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, like, rate, or review. If you're listening on the podcast, thanks so much. Share this with someone. You might be able to share this with someone who might be confused of why the relationship is always about him and they don't even have a say or they don't even feel like they matter.